right, good evening, everyone.
Hello, hello, hello.
This is sort of a impromptu little talk session. So we would ask that as you come in, as you tap in, hit the like and hit the share. Um, let's see. Yeah, this is real informal. We just wanted to check in with you all. Obviously, we said that we weren't having recharge this week, and we are not. But the First Lady and I wanted to sit down and just have a little bit of a conversation with everybody. Um, yeah, and just sort of do a recap of the year. Um, I tell you what, let me do this. Son, come here real quick. It's my assistant, y'all. Let me see this real quick. Let me see. Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. I gotta get right with my assistant real quick. Um, don't touch that. They can hear that. I just needed to be able to do this real quick.
To share.
Yeah.
So while he's doing that, everybody make sure you share so that we can get some viewers. I like to hear from you while we're doing the recharge. Joey, you have anything you want to say?
Talking to the people today, man? Huh? No? You ain't talking to the people today? Okay, here you go. Here you
Thank you, Joseph.
go. All right. So yeah, y'all gotta help us out. Y'all gotta hit the like and hit the share. The way we got everything set up right now, normally we have our phones in our hands. We don't. Um, so we kind of just need you to help us out with that. Um, so shout out Amanda. Houston family is on. Happy to have y'all on. Y'all make sure y'all hit the share for us too. Tag some people in the comment section. We're just gonna have a discussion about something that we don't want it to be too formal, but I think it's definitely an important conversation to have. I want to just kind of recap this year and sort of give some projections for next year. Um, and I want y'all to hear from my wife, man. She has some great insights, and I just want y'all. I know y'all hear from me often. I want y'all to be able to hear from her too. So let's start it this way, man. We're gonna let y'all into how we talk at home, basically.
Right.
So, babe, the theme for Abundant Faith for 2022 was the year of double portion. We're still in 22? Is the year of double portion. And one of the things that was important for me was to make sure that we stress that this wasn't just about money, right? Or material things,
Right.
in general. Like if God want to bless us with that, cool. But like we not gonna limit it to just that. So, with that being said, I have a two-part question. My first question is, or my first part of the question is, what were your expectations in terms of double portion for 2022? Because you knew that was the thing before anybody else did, right?
Right, right. Um, Not too much before everybody else did. So what's interesting is when your pastor gives you a vision. Everybody um, has themes for the new year.
Mm-hmm.
So when your pastor gives you your theme, you just have to trust that, especially if God didn't speak directly to you for that theme.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to go in without expectation because, like you said, if a so we learned in 2020 when all of the pastors was saying vision, like because a message for the new year is always hopeful. We had no idea that everything in 2020 and 2021 was going to happen because
Mm-hmm.
we always think the good. We never think about the bad.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately when you say the year of double portion, we go straight to finances.
Yeah, for sure. That's the
I
easy.
want my
That's the
yeah,
easy default.
I want my double portion of whatever. But I have learned that to trust my pastor when he gives the theme, but to set my expectations on whatever it is, double of whatever, because double of something could also mean double loss. So we know that a double portion of loss or anger or whatever. So I always set my prayer as whatever it is. So in this case, whatever double you give me, let me learn from it. Let me always see the good in it and be able to continue my testimony from that thing.
Okay. So then, so that leads perfectly into my next question, which is the first part was what were your expectations, and the second part is what did you receive a double portion of?
So I received a double portion of health this year.
Okay.
And without getting too like deep into it, um, I have a lot on my plate. So y'all think the pastor has a lot on his plate. I have a lot on my plate, and sometimes when you have a lot on your plate, you forget to take care of yourself. So this year, especially probably the first 8 months or so, I was taking care of my body, and my mind, and just letting stuff go. Everybody that knows me knows I am very active, and any given day I'm just doing the most.
Yes,
This
Lord.
year, this year I took my naps, I took my breaks, I said no to people, and all of that is a part of my health. So I gained that. Um, I think like as far as my children, I gained more patience and understanding, and I gained a double portion of that because before this year it was do as I say, and this year I actually started listening and learning my kids on what they wanted.
Well, they right on cue. What's wrong, baby girl?
Okay, and then so what they want and what their desires are. So I got a double portion of that, and then I also actually we did get blessed with a double portion of our finances.
Yeah.
So Pastor, I'm going to turn it over to you really quick and ask, what did you receive a double portion of?
So again, this is impromptu, y'all. We just like literally just kind of decided we were going to do this. So we kind of y'all seeing like in real time, like we on pastor and first lady duty, but also on parental duty as well. Baby girl's in coding class and she's having some connection issues, so mommy had to go take care of that. But to answer her question, right? Like I was in prayer about. Okay, let me go back. So God gave me the theme for 2022 probably around, I want to say maybe around July, August-ish. And whenever this is my practice, right? Whenever I feel like God has given me a theme for the next year, I always go into prayer to make sure that I'm hearing correctly, make sure that I'm understanding correctly, make sure that this isn't like flesh, right? Like make sure it's not just me, something that I want, so I'm gonna make it the theme. Like I want to always make sure that I'm hearing from God, right? So I got the theme initially probably around July, August, prayed about it very heavily, probably until about September-ish. To where I was very confident that this is where God was taking us. But also during that prayer time, God spoke to me and really emphasized like this isn't only about material things, specifically money, right? Like this isn't only about that. And so I wanted to make sure that I stressed that to our congregation, stress that to Abundant Faith supporters that are not necessarily members. I wanted to make sure that I stressed that. So with that being said, my expectation for going into 2022, I want to make sure I word this correct. I wanted a double portion in terms of my ability and availability to pastor God's people, um, to be a better leader, right? Like I wanted a double portion of that. I wanted to be a better leader. I wanted to be um, a better husband, a better father. And I know these might sound cliche, but like this is real. Like this is the type of stuff. Even in the professional space, right? Like I wanted to be able to reach and impact more people in my job in this professional space, also through the church. Um, and I believe that God blessed me with all of those things. And ironically enough, because he gave me a double portion blessing in those areas, it did then have an effect on the material things and the finances. Right? So I don't I mean obviously all of it comes from God, but I don't think that God just just gave me just gave us a double portion of finances. I think that God gave us a double portion of so many other things that the finances couldn't help but be affected, right? And so then the double portion then comes the double portion of the finances comes as a result of the double portion of everything else that God provided. Um, and so I and I also going into um the year, I wanted I wanted the Abundant Faith members, the Abundant Faith family, the Abundant Faith supporters. I wanted them to have a double portion. I wanted them to have a double portion of God's spirit. I wanted God to just give a double portion of an outpouring of his spirit in abundant faith. I wanted I wanted a double portion of an outpouring. And I wanted it to reflect in very specific ways. I wanted it to manifest in the praise and worship on Sunday morning. I wanted it to manifest through me in delivering the word of God. I wanted it to manifest in terms of my intentionality within preparation and planning. So planning out the themes or the series, I should say, the preaching and teaching series, planning those things out very intentionally. Um, because sometimes some of y'all might not know this, but sometimes as preachers we can falsely use the Spirit of God as an excuse to not prepare. Meaning there are there are times where you like I'm just gonna let the Spirit use me. I'm just open to whatever the Spirit of God wants to do. No, man of God, you didn't study, so you don't have a choice, right? So and I'm making a point for that not to be a habit for me. However, I wanted a double portion, right? I wanted to be more intentional with these things. I wanted to be more strategic, and I wanted it to show and manifest itself on Sunday mornings, on Wednesdays, whatever else we had going on. And so those were my expectations. That's what I wanted. And I believe we got it. I don't know. Let me ask you, right? Let me ask you because I believe that especially within the last maybe 60 days, if you're in Indianapolis and you haven't made it to the sanctuary in the last 60 days, I'm telling you, you're missing something special. Because something is I believe that outpouring. I believe it happened earlier in the year, but I believe it's starting to manifest now, or it started about in the last 60 days. What do you think? Am I off on that, or am I? What would
No,
you say?
definitely. It has, and so when we think about a theme for the year, we have to remember, like when we get like halfway through the year, we're like, okay, nothing has happened, and so we have to remember it's God's timing is not our timing. So we still have days left in the year, and I would definitely say these last couple of months, some of the things that you were just speaking about with your expectations and what God was speaking to you about, we are starting to see it. But we have to remember those things start working
They're
way
asking you to
before
move your
you
mic up.
actually see it.
Sorry about
those
that.
things start working way before the mic is actually almost touching my lips. So, if you want to know Lady Key's personality, just keep talking. It'll come out. Um, so, so you have to remember those things actually start working sometimes before we actually see those things.
Hmm.
So I would agree that in the last 60 days, we're actually starting to see more, which brings something to my mind when you asked me about the double portion. I actually received a double portion of confidence too.
Mm.
So I just, with being obedient, with like telling people, because I love this church. I love this church, and I would not be here, even with being his wife, if I didn't believe in the mission and vision, and if I wasn't hearing directly from God about being here. But I was keeping all of that information in my head. And so I just started saying what I was feeling inside and like ministering to people and discipling. And I'm starting to see that within these last 60 days that those people are actually coming to church and they're actually wanting to know more about God. So I would agree with that. I said all of that to say yes, I would agree with the last couple of months. We are definitely seeing some of that double portion promise from God.
Yeah, I think that real quick before we move on, if because a couple people are talking about the microphones, can you hear now? She moved the mic as close as she possibly could.
Listen,
Um, so if not, we can
if you guys
switch,
just want a kiss on the cheek from me, just say that.
and she'll
So
do it, and she will do it. Somebody, like, you're gonna have to put in the comment section. Say yes if you can hear her. Just type yes or put a heart or a thumbs up or something. Actually, in the comment section. Um, so you brought up a good point though. You brought up a good point about when something happens. When something happens, I don't know which one I did. Here, try this one. Switch out. When something happens, and when you see the results of that something happening, um, there is sometimes um, a little bit of a delay between the two, right? Sometimes there is a bit of a delay between when God actually, does a thing, and when you can see the effects and the results of it. And I want to circle back to that because, and you mentioned this too. We have what's today? It's December 14th. So
about
so
2
we
weeks.
yeah we can't, like, nobody's at Abundant Faith. We're not about giving false hope. We're about abundant faith, not false hope. So we're not telling you that God is going to give you every single thing that you expect this year. However, there's still time. There's still time for God to do things in your life. There's still time. Like, there's still plenty of time for God to do things in your life still. Um, which is one of the reasons why we have New Year's Eve service or watch night service. It's not just in preparation for the new year, but if we have last year, I think our service was at 10 o'clock p.m. Like, God still had 2 hours left to do whatever it is he was going to do. And so I really just wanted to, like, circle back to that really quickly and just encourage whoever, maybe you didn't get the double portion of something that you desired. And I just want to encourage you that there's still time for it to happen. There's still time for it to happen. Um, but go ahead.
I was just asking, was this okay? The mic.
Oh yeah.
Let me know if the mic is.
Yeah. Um, so before we move on, because I didn't want to. This isn't just a 2022 recap. We're gonna project a little bit for 2023. Before we move to 2023, I wanna ask you, what was a standout occasion for you in 22? Like, it could be a period of time or one event or whatever. Like, what was a standout occasion for you in 2022?
Um, so, regarding the church, is
Just
that the
in general.
question? Just in general, I mean, we celebrated 10 years in 2022, and
Definitely did
so
that.
those were double digit numbers.
For
So
sure.
if you talk about a double portion of something, and so in any marriage, there's ups and downs and a lot of compromise. And so to get to 10 years, that really stood out to me because our journey, um, we've been with starting businesses, with starting the church, and raising our two children. Sometimes you got to kind of get back to how you began. And so this year we kind of got back to how we began. We started dating more. And then we had the celebration with our close family and friends that were here in the state for the 10-year anniversary. And I did something there when I was talking to you guys about the double portion that I received of confidence. I did something there that I would have never done maybe even a year ago when we did our vow renewal. I actually wrote and said my vows.
Yeah.
And that's something that I would would have never
I was surprised
even
when you
thought about.
suggested it. I was surprised. You're like, we gonna write our own vow. I'm like, really? Okay. All right, I'm with it.
So for me, I'm a one-on-one. We can have a one-on-one conversation, and God always gives me what to say, but I say it without even thinking about it. But when that group starts to get to 4 or 5 or 6, I shut down.
Yeah.
And so that stood out to me, like small victories. And I know some people may think, oh, that's just speaking, but that's a real fear. Public speaking is just a real fear. It's a real thing. So that stood out to me because there has been multiple times in our marriage that literally we knew that God was at the center, because if he wasn't, we wouldn't have been celebrating those 10 years.
Yeah, for sure. And it was really a blessing for me as a husband, because one of the things that y'all don't know is so neither neither of us believe that my wife is like called to preaching ministry. That's not her calling. However, I have always said since Abundant Faith has been open that the people need to hear from her more. I've always said that to her. So to see her expressing the confidence, and really just easing into being more vocal in the larger groups has been a blessing for me. Just because I believe that you have one of the purest hearts of anyone I know, and I believe that, you know, what you say to people. I've heard some of the intimate conversations that you've had with people before, and I believe that the people of Abundant Faith. I was actually talking to my pastor today, and I was like, a lot of our members are here because of my wife. Like, I would say a lot of our members, they love me, but they like her more, right? Like that, and I'm not mad at that. I'm I'm riding with that. So I'm just proud because, you know, I've been kind of wanting you to get out there a little bit more. So
For sure. And it's not just me just doing it because my husband is telling me I need to get out there more. Like, actually, I'm hearing from God that have a lot of knowledge. I love studying the Bible. I love teaching my children about Christ. And so I love talking to people about Christ. It's just that I'm just not very vocal. Like, if you catch me one-on-one, if you have a question, I know it and I can answer it. So for sure.
yeah, that's dope.
Okay, so what about you, Pastor?
Standout moment.
Standout moment.
So obviously the 10-year was a huge thing. The 10-year was a huge thing. To be able to celebrate 10 years, and in the beginning, like I never considered myself marriage material. You know that, right? Like I didn't get married to my wife because I was looking for a wife. I got married to her because I found her specifically. So that was a big deal to me, to be able to celebrate the 10-year. Honestly, some of the most standout, like being able to, the family trip to Florida, was a great time. And honestly, like God is still creating standout moments. Like, I almost slept here the night the carpet got laid in here. I was so excited about what God was doing in the building. I almost stayed here and slept on the floor, slept on the new carpet. So that was super exciting.
Was the sign in 2022?
The sign was 22.
That was the church sign.
Yeah.
Was a big moment.
Yeah, the church sign went out.
So we're just gonna call it the transformation of the church.
Yeah, it was a lot that happened in 2022 for the building itself, for sure.
In 2022, I let go of some relationships I should have let go a long time ago.
Yeah.
And hopefully they will come back around in a more healthy way.
Yeah. So that, and I think that falls into like the double portion of just peace.
Of peace.
Right.
That's exactly the double portion of peace. It wasn't easy. It was tough, but the double portion of peace.
And so I took a promotion in 2022 at work. That was this year.
I stood up for myself at work in 2022.
That was an interesting time. That was a very interesting time. But that speaks to what you were just talking about. It falls into that double portion of confidence category, right? Dr. Ari Vernon talks about all the time, like pretending like you're not who you are is not humility. Right? Like if you know that you're worth something, or if you know that you're gifted in an area, pretend like trying to lessen that is not humility.
Right.
Right? So again, that was one of those situations where I was proud to see how you would stand up for yourself in given areas. But also as your husband, I'm hyped up too, and so that was an interesting time. I want to know what your standout moments of 2022 were. Put them in the comment section. I want to know what your standout. First, I want to know, what did you receive a double portion of in 22? And then I want to know, what were some standout moments for you in 22? All right, put those in the comment section. Please, want to hear from you. Okay, because we said we weren't going to be up here long, so
right.
Let's jump into 23. Leadership team knows. General congregation and general public, you're finding out now what the theme is for the year 2023. That theme came to me fairly early. We probably talking about the same time frame, maybe around July, when I first began to hear God about this particular word. I think I expressed it to you around maybe September. Very confident, even in the chain of events in our lives recently, that God was confirming that this is accurate. So for Abundant Faith, here it is, drum roll please. 2023 is going to be the year of the shift.
The year of the shift.
Yeah, the year of shifting. And so I think that is very important. I gave disclaimer for 2022. Your double portion is not exclusively to finances and material things. 23, same thing. Disclaimer. Shifting does not always mean something bad. Okay. Just because you shift from one thing to another, it doesn't mean that the old thing was bad. So you talked about relationships that had to be let go, right? So we know that sometimes relationships just kind of shift, right? Like the people involved shift, and you just kind of grow apart. And so you have to adjust, because whatever role they played in your life, obviously they don't play this anymore. And whatever role you play in their life, you don't play that anymore. So you have to shift. So all shifting is not a bad thing. That's my disclaimer for this year. Just because you're shifting from one thing to the next doesn't mean your previous was bad. Now, it could be, but it doesn't automatically mean that. Okay. So some of the things that we will be discussing over the course of the year. We're going to be talking about shifting in our finances, obviously. We'll be doing some teachings on biblical finance. We'll do some teaching. I'm bringing in some people that are going to be able to talk about even things like investing, right, and things like that. Because if the church has been called to do things like care for the poor, how are we going to do that and we poor, right? So some of us need a shift in the way we handle our money, right? Which then in turn creates a shift in how we give. So all of that is tied into one. We're going to be talking about shifts in our worship, shifts in our prayer life, shifts in our relationships, shifts in our perspective. Because sometimes we see things in a very jaded way because of perspective. So we'll be talking about shifting our perspective, being able to step back and look at things from a broader lens, or focus in and look at things a little more acutely. So we're going to be doing a lot of shifting, within the church.
Right.
But when God gives me a theme, it's not specifically for within the four walls of Abundant Faith.
Correct.
So we're expecting shifting in people's lives.
True. So we talk about this theme of shifting, and I've gotten some confirmations on God wanting 2023 to be the year of shifting. So God speaks to me in a way that I can understand, and sometimes He has to tell me multiple times. Because for some reason I get short-term memory when it comes to the things of God. It's very
You're
weird.
not by yourself.
It's very, very
You're
weird.
not by yourself.
So I'm going to tell you guys a quick story really quick. So everybody knows that I run a child care center, and we have groceries delivered weekly, tons of groceries, because the kids love to eat and we love to feed them. And so I'm just doing my normal thing, going out and getting the groceries. And I think we use, I don't know, maybe Instacart or something. One of the
we ain't saying no names because they not sponsoring.
Oh,
so we
okay,
ain't saying
I'm sorry. Well, we'll use one of those deliveries.
Yeah, if they want to sponsor Abundant Faith, then we'll say their names.
You see what I have to deal with. So I'm going out there, and it's just a driver, and she comes up, and she says, "Lakia, right?" And I'm like, okay, that's a coincidence because, maybe she saw it on the ticket, delivery. She said, I've delivered here before. That's your name, right? And then she said, God told me to tell you this. And so I'm like listening, but I'm half listening. I'm trying to get the groceries. So I'm like, you know how we see people and they say, God told me to tell you something.
I'm super skeptical.
We go.
I'm super skeptical of the random God told me to tell you. Because I don't know what your relationship is with God.
Right. So I'm just like, okay. So I'm listening. I'm half listening. And the more that she's talking, it's catching my ear. And so I'm like, well, some of the stuff in there I can see, but I'm just going to keep it moving. I'm going to take the information, and I took it as information, and I just kept going. So then I was interviewing a parent who wanted to enroll her 2 children, and she said, can I tell you something? And this was in the same week, and I said, you can tell me anything. And that's true. Anybody can tell me anything. And she said, God told me to tell you this thing. And I said, okay, that's 2.
And they were very similar.
They were very similar.
They were eerily similar.
Yes. So I'm like, that's 2. Are they cousins? Are they friends? Like, God, what is happening? And so I go about my time, and I said, that's not really a coincidence. And I'm telling my husband, and I'm like, okay, I'm listening, God. But then I got my short-term memory, so I forgot about it. And so then a parent, an existing parent, came in to drop her kids off, and she said, "Today in my prayer time, God told me to tell you this." So I said, "Okay, that's 3 times. I'm listening, God. I'm being obedient. Like, use me." So I think what I'm thinking, I'm not going to tell you guys what was said to me because I think it's preparing me for 2023.
Maybe
So
we can
my
tell them.
testimony is loaded on that.
We can tell them when we do this at the end of next year.
Yes. Yes, unless God tells me to tell them a little bit before.
Yeah.
Then. So I'm just interested to see my shift because He's already revealed to me what my shift is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just interested to see how it's going to play out. So I have my shift for 2023. So I encourage people to go into their prayer time. And if you feel like this is God telling you that the next year is the year of shift, go into your prayer time so that you can be ready for whatever that shift is and that you can be obedient for whatever that shift is.
So I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that for anybody, even if there are people who are listening who are not members of Abundant Faith, and your pastor is going to tell you what your theme is for this year, I encourage everybody to go into prayer because, and I was having this conversation with one of our members who is on the leadership team, has heard me say that 23 will be the year to shift. And they text me and was like, "It's crazy that you said that because in my personal prayer time, the word that God gave me was," I hope I don't get this wrong, transform. Mm-hmm. Right? Very similar concepts though. Right? And so I was explaining to them, it was either transform or transition. I can't remember which one, but very similar concepts. And so I was explaining to them that if God is doing a particular work, we shouldn't all be getting extremely different. Correct. You know what I'm saying? Like they may not be the exact same, but there should be a level of consistency where how are you assigned to this place? And God is telling me, hey, this is the year of shifting. And you saying, well, God told me this is the year of stillness. Right? There's a disconnect somewhere.
Yes.
Right? And so the reason why I say that is because I think it's important for everyone to go into prayer and ask God, like, what do you want from me this year? What should I be expecting for this up and coming year? And prayerfully, it will align with your church.
Correct. Definitely. And one of the things that I would also encourage you all, because I almost forgot this, that after that third confirmation from God, I immediately went into a fast. I encourage people to go into fasting because it cuts out a lot of confusion, and you can clearly hear from God. Just to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do.
So that's a part of the shift for Abundant Faith. This in March will be 4, right? We've not done a corporate fast in 4 years.
Right.
You and I, both together and individually, fast quite often throughout the year. We've not done a corporate fast at Abundant Faith. So in terms of the shift, right, that's one of the things. However, I want to make sure, because I'm responsible for what happens here. So I want to make sure that we understand fasting purpose and principles, right? Because I also believe that there's a lot of misconception as it pertains to fasting. So what I haven't decided yet is if the teaching is going to happen while the fast is happening, or if I'm going to do the teaching first and then we go into a fast. I'm still praying about that and asking God to, how does He want me to handle that? But it's funny you brought that up because that's on the list.
Well, good. We're on one accord.
What I say,
God
two
is
become
not
one. God
the
said two
author of
become
confusion.
one. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I would encourage everybody to go into prayer and make sure that you're aligned, right? And here's also, if God doesn't give you anything specifically, then align yourself. Don't fight just because you don't like that I'm saying this is the year of the shift. Don't fight it, especially when God ain't told you nothing different, Because sometimes that's your confirmation, right? If your pastor's telling you one thing and God is not telling you anything different, or if consistently enough people are telling you one thing and God is not telling you anything different, sometimes that's your confirmation. All right. So we getting ready to wrap up, but I want to go through. So Sister Wells said that one of her standout moments was being able to be a part of the 3-year celebration in 2022 because they officially came over with us. And I believe it was the beginning of 22 or end of 21. I can't remember. End of 21 because they came for the celebration of 22 in 22. So she said that was a standout for her to be able to.
And they were here for the picking up the building.
Absolutely.
So it's 21.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. It was 21.
That was a great, amazing celebration.
Yeah.
And you guys showed up for us, and
Yeah.
we will never forget that.
For sure. For sure. It was great. It was as weird as it sounds, it was my style, right?
Oh boy.
The people who were here were people that we have relationship with. It wasn't super flashy. We didn't do a whole lot of like fanfare, right?
Oh, I was flashy.
I'm talking about the service, ma'am. You listen, y'all's first lady ordered 6 dresses for the anniversary. She kept 2. She wore one for morning service and one for afternoon service. So she was ready for celebration. So yeah, you were. You look good though.
Okay, thank you.
You look good. You look good now too.
Thank you.
Trick or treat.
Okay, well, is there any more comments?
Yeah. So our brother Alan Anderson out in Houston said that I hope I'm interpreting this correctly. He had an expectation for a double portion professionally, and he got a new position at work. So he's in management now as well. And our promotions happen around the same time frame, which again confirmed what God was doing, right? Because they've supported Abundant Faith.
Correct.
You know, I say this all the time. For those of you who don't know, Alan Anderson, who's in the comment section, is the first person that I led to Christ through preaching.
Amen.
So my very first sermon, Alan gave his life to Christ after my very first sermon. So me and him are like forever attached in that way. So you know, it was just. I still want to hear from you. I know we're getting ready to wrap up, but I still want y'all to put in the comment section what were some standout moments for you in 2022, and what did you receive a double portion of in 2022. And I want you to start setting your expectation for this shift, right? And what I would encourage is that you pray for understanding and obedience, because man, when God starts shifting stuff, sometimes we resist. You know what I mean? Sometimes we're confused, hesitant, whatever the case may be. So I would encourage that if you align with that, to just begin to pray for obedience and availability. As an athlete, they tell you the best ability is availability, right? So just being available to what God is doing. I'm looking for a shift in priorities.
All right.
I'm looking for a shift in priorities. How I handle what's most important and who's most important.
And you know I'm gonna hold you to it. Now I'm waiting to see how that plays out in your life, Pastor.
Yeah. So I commit to things that, make it hard for me to, make it unnecessarily difficult for me to prioritize. So I want to do better with that. Whitney said they celebrated 11 years of marriage. That was a standout for 2022.
And we were actually at Whitney's wedding.
I sang at Whitney's wedding.
Yes, you did.
I wasn't even preaching yet. I was not in ministry yet.
Congratulations, Whitney. 11 years.
Yeah, I wasn't in ministry yet. Um,
So I would have been your girlfriend.
yeah, we weren't married. No.
We were not married. I was his date to a. You should have known that we were getting married.
Why?
If you taken me to weddings, if I was your date to weddings.
That don't mean we getting married. That just means you look good with me when I come in. That's what that means.
Congratulations, Mark and Whitney.
No, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's funny. I definitely did a stint of being a wedding singer. I sang at a couple weddings around that time. Those days are over. Elder Welsh says that seeing the upgrades at the church. I know God is still working, but it's amazing to see. I agree, Elder Wells. That's the same thing I was saying. And I'm excited about, what's still to come. Yeah, that's big. This is the last thing I'm gonna say. I promise.
Okay, guys.
I promise. Listen.
What's the bet?
Fill me on this. Shift,
Okay.
right?
Shift.
Your baby boy is shifting to kindergarten
Yes, he
in
is.
23.
So you guys know that our kids are like night and day, just like many kids, many siblings.
Yeah.
I just don't know how. When Jewel has always been very independent. It's almost like since she came out, she has been very independent. It was actually the spirit when Jewel was born was in the room. Like God anointed Jewel when she was born. And so we've always known that Jewel was going to be okay, whatever she does. She's very strong-willed. And
Jewel got hands laid on her while she was still in the
did, while
womb
she was in
the
womb.
night she came.
Yes, she did. And so we always, God gave us a promise about Jewel. Joey received a different gift. And so sometimes we worry about Mr. Joey.
In certain areas, yes.
In certain areas. And so I don't know how I'm going to handle Joey not being in my care for the first time in 2023.
Yeah. Joey's never been. We transitioned Jewel. She left she had some child care providers before you.
Mm-hmm.
Big shout out to Miss Pat. Big shout out to Granny.
Mm-hmm.
She had some child care.
Jay was
Yeah.
watching her for a little bit.
Jay. What
So
she just
people we
commented, they
trust,
celebrated 10 years. Noni.
Very.
Yeah.
She was with people that
She
we
was
trust.
she was with family, and
Right.
then you opened the center. She was with you, and then she did about a year at Charity.
Shout out to Charity.
Yeah,
I would not have sent her anywhere else.
Yeah, shout out to Sis Juanika. She's dope.
Mm-hmm.
But we did that pretty intentionally, like in preparation for her being away from you, and we didn't do that with Joey. So this is gonna be interesting. But he's ready to go. Like
He's ready to go. I'm not ready, and so it's just interesting to see how that's gonna be a shift for me that I'm not ready for.
I am. I am. Daddy is.
So if you want to see me and Joey's relationship, come to church on Sunday, 3625 South Emerson Avenue, and you will see how Joey treats his mother. Yeah. It's amazing to see.
So me and Joey had talks when he was 3 days old. I always take care of mommy. And we continue to have those talks. So we got the Brandons double portion 10 years or celebration 10 years of marriage this year last month. And then Destry specifically said he got a double portion of, get this, vitality.
Vitality.
Yeah.
I would love to hear more about that.
Yeah. He said vitality. He got me on this crazy workout regimen right now that me and him probably gonna have to throw hands for, cause but he got a double portion of vitality. So yeah, that's what we just wanted to sit down and chop it up with y'all. We not having Recharge for a little while. We definitely wanted to kind of do a little recap of the year and do some projections for 23. Just FYI, we're still having service every Sunday, including Christmas Day, including New Year's Day. And so we will even be having New Year's Eve service. I'm still waiting on a response from the last person that I need so we can solidify the time. But we'll be there.
We'll be there.
We'll be
Christ
there.
will be there.
Absolutely.
The Spirit is
If the Spirit ain't there,
always
we
here.
might as well stay home.
So it doesn't matter if you get that confirmation or not. Service will still happen.
No, service is happening. I'm talking about time. So, yeah, Destry, social media is definitely growing. So if you're not following us on Facebook and Instagram, please do so. Subscribe to the YouTube page. Thank you. All right, we're getting ready to get out of here, y'all. Definitely just wanted to sit down with y'all and have a little bit of a talk. Finally got a chance to get my wife in front of the camera. Grateful for that. And yeah, man, we just want everybody to have a blessed holiday season and keep your expectation that God can still give you some double portion in the last 2 weeks of this year, and start preparing yourself for the shift. All right? All right, we'll see y'all soon, man. We'll see y'all Sunday morning, 10 a.m., 3625 South Emerson Avenue. We'll see y'all bright and early. Can't wait to see you, and we love you.
Love you.